New Beginning took place in Osaka in front of a very large crowd. It had some really good action on it and some absolutely baffling booking decisions. We're going to look at those. We also said farewell to several people. Now, the one that was an official goodbye was for Hiromu Takahashi. We talked about that a lot last week. We'll talk about his send-off and how it's different from a lot of the other send-offs, but he was far from the only one. There were a lot of people on that New Beginning card that we're not going to see again or anytime soon. A lot of turnover in the roster coming, plus the passing of a former IWGP heavyweight champion. Plenty to get into today. So with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jeremy, it wasn't until I did that intro, really, and wrote it out a little bit before we went on the air that I realized just how much happened this week. It seemed to come in waves a little bit, and it wasn't until I compiled it all that I just thought, this is a really eventful week for New Japan. Maybe not some
3 days, because everything happened starting Monday.
Yeah. It was pretty crazy. So we're going to break it all down, but I'm a little out of breath, and I'm a little bit glad that there's a week before the next show, before Fantasticamania starts to digest some of this stuff. And how did you feel your week? I spent most of my week watching the Winter Olympics. I won't lie about that. I've also I also checked in on a lot of Stardom and some of the other Japanese promotions, but I've been headfirst into the Winter Olympics. I'm enjoying the heck out of it.
Yeah, I don't do the Olympics. I know I'm weird like that. I just don't care. Strangely enough, I'm just not an Olympics person or organized sporting tournaments for whatever reason. Not the time or place for it, but it's just not my thing. I felt like this week went by really fast for me, but nothing particularly like crazy happened. It's just like, came back from Japan, did my whole trip, took a couple weeks to get back into the routine, and now like we're in the weekly routine every week. And you know, when you're just kind of doing the same thing every week and kind of sticking to it, the time just kind of moves by pretty fast. If you know the Ferris Bueller, life moves by pretty fast. You don't stop and take a look around once in a while, you might miss it. I feel like given that life is moving by pretty fast right now. I feel like there's a lot of arguing on social media about pro wrestling in a lot of different ways. And one of them is Jake Lee, another one is Brody King, and another one of it is just, shake the tree and something about WWE happens. Just in general, man, like there's a lot of discourse. And to me, it was more like, just going to back off and wait till Thursday and sit down and chat about some of this stuff. Cause I don't want to participate in the cacophony of what becomes a void of noise.
We're going to talk about Jake Lee a little later, of course, because he had the world title shot against Yota Tsuji. I'm just going to say this before we get to it, though. He is a very divisive figure, and it's very rare that I disagree with others so much, yet still completely understand their point. And we're going to talk about when we get there. It's like, I get it, guys. If you don't like Jake, I get why. I do. I really do. I don't agree, but it's very rare. Like sometimes it's just like, I don't understand what people don't see. Like I don't understand why they don't agree with me, I guess is the whole thing, right? With Jake, I'm just like, yeah, all right, I got it. He's not everybody's cup of tea. He's not going to be.
So we'll get to it later, but I just want to know now. Did you think that match was good or did you think that match was bad?
I'm waiting until later to tell you.
Ooh.
I'm waiting until later to tell you.
Okay.
All right. We have Nick Reeves is here with us. And Nick, we're going to get to your comments here. Jeremy Orr as well. Nick just mentioned this, though. I'll say this now. He said, Nick is saying, I tell myself every Olympics I'll watch more than I did last time. And that never happens except for basketball and hockey. I don't know. I just get into the whole thing. Like I'm over there watching short track speed skating, and I just find the stuff exciting. I think part of it is because I don't get to see it the rest of the 4 years for the most part, but yeah, and I'm watching a lot of curling, but I like the strategy of curling. I enjoy the strategy of it.
This is one of those scenarios where like I could get on my soapbox. I could talk about all the things that I don't like about it, but essentially I'm yucking other people's yum who have like who love this stuff and want to get behind like the athletes and the pageantry and like the scales of it being so high. These are world championships essentially. So I get it, but it's just not my thing. I got my reasons.
The only other thing I'll say about the Olympics before we move on to New Japan real quick, just because it's been on my mind, is someone put it, and I wish I could remember who said it, put it perfectly. They said, the Olympics, if you're not a fan of the sports all the time, what the Olympics boils down to is you're watching people have the best moments of their lives for 2 weeks.
This is true.
And I thought, okay, that's a nice way of putting it. So even if I don't understand the ins and outs of alpine skiing and the biathlon and all that stuff, bottom line is I'm watching somebody reach the pinnacle of everything they've been working for their whole life, and that's satisfying in a way.
Speaking of that, I will say I saw one social media clip, and I apologize if I'm totally derailing this on the account of the Olympics, but I saw some dude win a gold medal, and in his interview, and then disclosed that he met the love of his life months ago. 3 months ago, he cheated on the love of his life. And a week ago, she kicked him out when he told her, and that in the greatest moment of his life, he's very sorry and that he loves her.
Took the platform of winning an Olympic gold medal to apologize for cheating on his wife. And that is...
I don't think it was his wife. He met the woman 6 months ago.
Oh, they're not married. Okay, cheated on his girlfriend.
So.
It's one of the great overshares, isn't it? Really?
It was like... They make rom-coms with this finale.
Yeah, the grand gesture
and
of all grand gestures.
It doesn't work out like that in real life. Like, this is the cringe version of the rom-com grand finale moment. You know what I mean? Like, where both people truly realize what's important. When all, it's just... And then it happened, and I was just like, oh, man, that did not go the way you wanted it to.
What's his name? Curtis is the writer and director of all Richard Curtis, the guy that did was it 4 Weddings and a Funeral, Notting Hill, and all those kind of classic rom-coms from England. Yeah, maybe that guy needs to get on this. He's going to adapt this. Fernando Zayas is here. Hello, Fernando. Glad you're with us. I mentioned Jeremy Orr, Nick Reeves with us here.
There's that movie Cool Runnings. This could be Hot Runnings.
Let's talk about New Japan now. I think we digressed enough off of that. So if you want to just see the greatest overshare ever, don't worry. It's all over social media.
We told you all the best parts. It's fine.
Yeah. Fernando says, by the way, rest in peace to the actor of Dawson's Creek and Varsity Blues. Yeah, James Vanderbeek passed away. We lost Catherine O'Hara not all that long ago. It's just been rough. But we also lost a former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. That was Tadao Yasuda. And I said World Heavyweight Champion, IWGP Heavyweight Champions in the original lineage. Tadao Yasuda. Now, in the midst of everything that's been going on this week with New Beginning and all that, I don't have a big biography of him. I will next week. That is something I'm going to put together next week for the show on Tadao Yasuda. Very briefly, though, former sumo wrestler. He was, I think he got up to Komusubi. He was definitely in Sanyaku, which is the higher ranks of sumo. So did well there, but ended up in New Japan, and part of the mix of pro wrestling and MMA that didn't quite work out that well for New Japan overall. He was part of all that, held the IWGP title once. We'll get into it when we go a little bit deeper into Yasuda. There are matches on New Japan World. Yasuda wasn't known for having great ones. Okay. Perfectly capable wrestler. There aren't a lot of classic Yasuda matches out there. And part of it was it wasn't his first sport. It wasn't really his true love. Not that he didn't try, not that he didn't work hard. I think he did. But maybe you're not going to have a long run of great Yasuda matches to find in the archives right there. But we'll get into that and where he was in the history of New Japan, where the company was in its journey from Inokiism to its resurgence and all that next week. But Tadao Yasuda, very sad that he and had a complicated life. There was a possible suicide attempt in there too. So
yeah, not only was he in New Japan, he was also massively in debt a lot of his life.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here, folks. A lot going on here, folks. So, in order to do it justice, I'll have something for next week that goes into a little bit more depth. But you saw the ceremony for Yasuda. They had a little 10-bell salute and brought out the members of Hantai, and they stood around the ring. There was an acknowledgement of his passing this week. So that's what you saw at New Beginning in Osaka. And Brad is here. Good. The Ace of Joshi. Brad is with us. He said he's excited to talk about a solid show. It's a good way to put it. It was a solid show.
I gave it a B+.
I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. And
I thought there were things that really took it down from being like an A.
Yeah.
But on the whole, some of those matches and the layout of the card and what we saw and the effort and everything, like, it was a B+ show to me.
I did like the layout of the card. I think that's worth mentioning, by the way. I think these matches were in the exact correct order. Yeah. And the show flowed in a nice way from one thing to the next. It was just a nicely paced show. So good on them for that.
All watch it yesterday though. Like, it was one of those things that I wasn't feeling great yesterday. So I think I got home from work at like 9 a.m. and it took me until 5 p.m. to finish watching the show just because I was just taking naps and just not feeling great. So like, if I missed a thing or two here, I was watching a match here, I was watching a match there. But I think I got the gist of everything that happened in there.
You heard that right, by the way. That Jeremy got home from work at 9 in the morning. This man works hours that would kill most normal humans.
Oh, East Coast hours on a West Coast time.
All right, here we go. So now let's mention one other thing. They threw a surprise show at us. Like when we went off the air last week, it was not on the schedule to be on NJPW World, but the house show essentially from the Road to New Beginning show from Osaka at the Prefectural Gym number 2, which is in the same building as Edion Arena. They broadcast that one mostly because of the very first match. Hiromu Takahashi worked twice on that show, and they bumped a Young Lion match to replace it with Hiromu having his singles match with Masatora Yasuda. No relation, by the way, to the former champion in the past. Different Yasuda's families. They aren't
common name in Japan.
Yeah, it is. And so is Takahashi, as it turns out. Of course, we have 2 Takahashis in New Japan for that matter. But Masatori Yasuda mentioned that he wanted to learn from Hiromu, and he did a thing with Taichi because Yasuda had been paired up with Taichi as the guys from Sapporo. And Taichi said, no, I think that's great. I think you should have more than one influence and go follow her. Well, then Hiromu ended up leaving the company. So before Hiromu could leave, he did get his singles match with Hiromu Takahashi. Hiromu came out to his old Young Lion music, wrestled a Young Lion style. If you notice, Jeremy, he didn't do anything that the Young Lions don't do. He didn't do any fancy moves. It was a strictly Young Lion Hiromu match. He just stuck to that core group of Young Lion wrestling moves that they are allowed to do, and submissions for that matter. And he wrestled Yasuda in Osaka, defeated him, got on the microphone afterwards, said, thank you for looking up to me. I appreciate that. And while I'm going away, I want you to keep rolling. And I am gifting you my old Young Lion music, because the Young Lions had different music back then than the current one. And Yasuda seemed properly moved by that. So I thought this was nice, Jeremy. Clearly, the Yasuda does look up to Hiromu. And he did get to have that one singles match. His final singles match with the company was against Masatori Yasuda.
It was a good match. It felt like it was just put together the last minute, which it was, and they televised it and all that stuff. And I think the gesture at the end of giving the Young Lion music to Yasuda, just part of like Hiromu just going through his virtual office and just giving things to all the different people on his way out the door, thinking like, yeah, I'm not going to need this anymore. It just feels totally Hiromu, you know?
It was very Hiromu. There were a lot of very Hiromu things that happened, by the way. There was an interesting interaction with he and El Desperado in the post-match comments that was interesting to watch too. So we'll get to all of that. And all right, so that was about it. The rest of that show was a house show, pure and simple. A lot of multi-man tags, previews for things that were going on Wednesday. So Wednesday,
did you feel obliged to watch the rest of the show just because it was televised?
Sure.
I mean, like, there was part of me that's like, man, I really really isn't much on here after on here. I'm just watching it. I'm just like, all right. Well,
I was doing the same thing. I'm like, do I really need to watch? Yeah, okay. Maybe something will happen. No, maybe something.
Yeah,
no, nothing happened. Nope, nothing. Could have skipped it.
I trolled through it. It felt like I was sludging through it, but I was
show, it could have been an email. That show could have been an email.
Could have been an email. Correct.
But we got to Osaka on Wednesday. Now, the good news is that we talked last week about how they may have oversaturated the Tokyo market with all the Cork and Hall shows and things. More to come. They're not leaving Tokyo anytime soon, nor will they. It's their home base. But Osaka does not seem to have had its fill of New Japan, because this was a all but sold out, like single scattered seating here at Edion Arena on Wednesday. Foundation Day, I mentioned last week, that was a national holiday, which is why a show like this is in the middle of the week instead of on the weekends, but everybody was off. And Edion Arena shut down after the March Sumo tournament last year for refurbishment, just opened up. Stardom ran its pay-per-view there last week. An excellent show, as always. They drew about 2,500, which is one of the largest crowds for women's wrestling in Osaka in a very long time. So they're still thriving there. And that was the first, I think that was the first wrestling show in the new arena since the refurbishment, or what it had to have been.
Yeah.
And then we had, and then we had this one. Now, after the March tournament, sumo tournament, coming up, they are going to shut it down for more renovations. So we're not going to be seeing Edion Arena a whole lot, but Dominion is the next big show in Osaka as far as like a major show goes usually. And that one's in Osaka-jo Hall anyhow. So, and then we had an announcement about that later on here. So just a little venue nerdness that Edion Arena, they did some of the renovations. They're going to open it up, and here we can have some events for a couple of months, and then they're going to shut it down again after the sumo tournament for the rest of the renovations. So the pre-show match at New Beginning in Osaka was the send-off match for Katsuya Murashima. So he teamed up with Shoma Kato, the other one who's about to go on excursion, although he's going to stay in Japan and work Fantasticamania. Shoma Kato. He's going to work Fantasticamania because he's then going to get on a plane and fly back with the CMLL guys to Mexico and begin his excursion there. But since they were all coming to him, might as well get some reps in Japan in the meantime. They wrestled Togi Makabe and Toru Yano. And this match was all about Murashima, since he was the one leaving. And he got a lot of power moves in to make him look good. They shined him up real nice there. But in the end, Makabe had to use the King Kong knee drop. He had to use the old Bruiser Brody off the top rope knee drop to beat him. Made him use his A finisher, at least, which is a little bit of an honor for Murashima. And then we found out that he is off to Europe, to WXW, just like Yuto Ice and Oscar did. They went to WXW and other companies in Europe. I'm sure maybe some Rev Pro in there as well for him. But Katsuya Murashima headed off to spread his wings and fly. Go, young man, go.
Totally fine match. Nothing but good things ahead for this guy, honestly. I feel like he's got that pedigree and the company's really behind him. And when he comes back, I feel like he'll be somebody.
Yeah, and hey, you can't complain with what WXW did for Oscar and Ice.
Right. Like, they did the work, but they provided the platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so that was the pre-show match, and that Murashima got a nice send-off too. The crowd seemed to appreciate that he was going to be leaving us and coming back someday. A lot of that until later type of things going on at this one.
See you down the road.
Hiromu Takahashi's send-off match was next, and this is a perfect example of it. He teamed with Taiji Ishimori. This is my dream team there. It turns out, I had forgotten this, they had actually done a odd couple tag team before when they were enemies in the past, but this is the first time they teamed when they wanted to team. Hiromu and Ishimori against Francesco Akira and Jacob Austin Young. Now, Nick mentions this, and it's a key point. He said, I have never seen a send-off with so much assurance that the wrestler would be back before. If they drilled anything into our heads with this all night long, is that Hiromu Takahashi will be back someday. He's just leaving for now, as the message they definitely wanted to send. And so with that in mind, I felt assured that they weren't going to humiliate him on the way out. And we didn't get that at all. And a really nice video package about Hiromu led into this match.
Yeah.
The match itself was a road to house show match. Nothing you wouldn't see at one of those.
Nobody was getting hurt in this match kind of thing.
Bone lock for the finish. Very much by the numbers right there. After the match, though, Francesco Akira attacked Hiromu just to get a little heat right there, and Robbie X came out and made the save. I like that in that Robbie X came out as almost like a transition for Ishimori. He had this one-off with Hiromu. Now his regular partner comes back, and Robbie, I think Robbie's great. So the idea that, Hiromu's on his way out, Robbie X is back in Japan, we're all happy about that. I think Robbie's a really talented dude. So a nice little, not a full passing of the torch, but just as a reminder, hey, we still have another great junior here that you can like. Hiromu got his jacket back. It had been stolen by Jacob Austin Young. So after he tapped out to the bone lock and Robbie X saved Hiromu from Akira, he got his jacket back, got his happy ending. They all stood tall in the ring, Robbie, Taiji, and Hiromu. So pretty satisfying way
all over this show.
All
over it. Like, he was commentating on matches. He had a match at the beginning, the post show, everything. It just, if you were ever a Hiromu appreciation night match, like a Hiromu appreciation show, this was the show for you. Like, this was all Hiromu all the time. Not to the level of like Tanahashi or anything like that, but just let's shower this dude with love and make sure that nobody gets the wrong idea of how we feel about him on the way out.
Well, Nick mentions that New Beginning taught us that many people on the roster may have been closer to Hiromu than we knew about. Very true. And in the post-match comments, he was in front of all the sponsor logos and things, and he was talking about how it was his final match, and Desperado came up to him. They had a little back and forth that was interesting in that there was also a little bit of pushback against Bushiroad on this show, and there would be one later on the microphone that has caused a bit of a kerfluffle. But in this one, Desperado and Hiromu were just talking back and forth about it, and semi in character, but not 100% in character, where they just kind of said, we really haven't done anything together in about 2 years. And so, yeah, I guess the office just thought it wouldn't be good to put us together, we haven't really wrestled each other and all that. But Desperado said, I was in a bit of a rut when you came back from excursion. Desperado was back just before Hiromu was. And he said, I wasn't really in a good spot in my career, and having you back really changed things for me. And then he had a little bag and he said, do you remember this? And he handed the bag to Hiromu. Hiromu pulled it out, and it was the mask that Hiromu had torn off of Desperado at that Best of the Super Junior final, which is the match that solidified in the eyes of the fans what a lot of hardcores knew the whole time, which is Desperado is a top level guy. Yeah, he had been kind of the junior in Suzuki-gun, and not, he and Kanemaru had some title shots and all this kind of stuff. But that match, you think, oh, this guy could be the ace of the division. And he turned out to be that. But that match where he had his mask torn off and he ended up pulling the rest of it off and just wrestling the rest of the match without his mask on. Really the first time we'd seen Desperado do that, where he just kind of looked at the crowd, said, the hell with it. I'm still going to beat him. Hiromu ended up winning that. That was one of his best of the Super Juniors. But afterwards, everyone came out of that just thinking Desperado is the deal. He is the real thing. And
it was such an aura moment, it's like, oh, you fucked up now kind of thing.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And one of the better matches of Desperado's career. And he's had some great ones. So to see that afterwards, it was a real moment between those guys. Hiromu cried. And not in a, Hiromu will play that kind of the silly fake cry thing sometimes when he would be playfully bullied by the rest of LIJ or something. This was real. And that was a real moment backstage. And then the emotions flowed again later. So I just wanted to bring that up just because it brought back a key moment in the career of Despe, who has been carrying that division for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I watched this show with an acute understanding that Hiromu was very important to a lot of people on this roster. And we'll get to some of those moments later on, but just like that stuff that you described with Desperado, they're all family in a lot of ways. Like, they see these people and they spend more time with them than they do their own loved ones in a lot of the situations. You know, being in those buses, going down the roads, like doing the tours. These guys are brothers in arms in a lot of these things. And, you know, some of us are very lucky to, you know, have those relationships in work where like you've been through a lot with the person who's working alongside next to you. And when that kind of ends, there's a trauma to that. You know what I mean? Like when there's a significant change and someone that you've seen like every day is no longer going to be there, like it or not, that stuff messes with you.
Jeremy's saying, do you think the love was a bit much? I did, to be honest. I think, Jeremy, there's a lot going on with the New Japan roster, a lot of turnover. And I think that what we saw Wednesday in Osaka was the bubbling up of a lot of feelings and things that guys that kind of kept tamped down a little bit. We heard more than one wrestler express their frustrations with the company, which we don't normally hear, including one literally just naming Bushiroad, others saying management. Meanwhile, doing all that while Tanahashi is sitting ringside. And that has a flashback moment to something that happened a very long time ago that we'll get to when the talent started to rebel against management on air. It's happened before in New Japan, but a lot of people leaving, a lot of people not feeling like they're appreciated as much as they had been. There are a lot of feelings. And so Hiromu going, someone who has been as identified with New Japan as anybody, maybe not Tanahashi identified with, but one of the most New Japan guys leaving, I think, has brought a lot of things up, and it almost didn't become real. And I felt the same way. You heard me pour my heart out about it last week. It's like, is this real? Is Hiromu Takahashi not in New Japan anymore? It seems to have rattled a lot of cages. And I think a lot of what's developed over the last year with New Japan and the purse strings and some of the budget stuff and some of the talent decisions have brought a lot of feelings to the surface. That's my impression of what's going on.
That's all totally like well and good. I think the appreciation factor for anyone in good standing that was working in New Japan from like 2016 to 2020 and it's deciding now is a good time to move on. I think the company is going to make very legitimate efforts to showing their appreciation to them once it's time that they mosey on out the door. When you were talking about all that, I don't know why I thought of this of all things, but I'm going to veer completely in left field with this. But this goodbye for Hiromu compared with the goodbye for Naito, man, that relationship between Naito and the New Japan office must have been so bad by the end.
Yeah,
that this was the difference. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think
Naito had a fine like goodbye? He went to the back, he did the wave, like exit stage left, whatever. But he did not get this level of appreciation.
You're right. And of course, the evil thing probably had more to do with his on-screen character than anything else. You don't do a big, warm, cuddly goodbye ceremony for the nastiest heel in the game, that whole thing. But let me ask you this, though. Do you think the difference in the warmth between Hiromu and Naito from the company has to do with the idea that Naito basically went to its most direct competitor?
I think the fact that he had to wait 7 months in order to wrestle anywhere else in Japan should tell you all you need to know.
Yeah, I think they were pissed at him. I think they were pissed at Naito, the idea that he was going to go over to Noah. I think they knew that. And it doesn't appear like Hiromu is destined for full-time work in Pro Wrestling Noah, which, again, is the closest competitor New Japan has on the men's side.
There's a lot of people that think he's going to WWE.
A lot of people think so.
That's so weird. Like, I think they could make it work. I could see a faction or like a tag team with Evo and Hiromu. I actually could. Like it's not completely out of the question. Where do you start with them? I would start him in NXT. but at the same time, they shouldn't be in there very long. You know what I mean? Just enough to like get the vibe, and then off to the races on SmackDown.
What do they do with him on the main roster? I just have no idea.
I think they can make it work. I think with, like I said last week, with Takeshita and Okada and Io Sky and this familiarity with Japanese talent in American wrestling in 2026, I don't think the barrier is impossible. And he has enough natural charisma where just being insane on WWE TV could probably like do him a lot of favors, but they're scripted like crazy. You know, like he can't just be Hiromu doing like weird Hiromu stuff when the cameras are on. Like they want him specifically doing, you know what I mean? Like they just their layout is very tight.
But you can't blame people for worrying that we're looking at another Tozawa here either. You can't blame people for it. You know, he's a lot better. He's a lot better than Tozawa
or
ever.
Kushida. Like they treat him like Kushida. Kushida got nowhere and then he left.
Yeah. And Brad says, I hope Hiromu enjoys his retirement. I'm going to miss seeing him. So I guess that just depends on where he ends up, if it's a retirement or not. But I understand.
I think Hiromu is just going to be like going for those mid-level titles and considering it the junior heavyweight title. Like he wants to wrestle Carmelo Hayes and Ilya Dragunov and all those smaller guys that are vying for the United States title. I get that. I'd be into that. But there's only so many of those guys on that roster before he's just doing whatever they want him to do.
All right, so that was it for that match, and then he would come back later. We'll talk about that. The War Dragons were up next against the United Empire. This is Great-O-Khan and Henare. Now, this was a very decisive victory for the War Dragons, and we've got an idea of why after the match. So Drilla and Shingo, they sold some on this one, but this was a very decisive win. They got the War Dragon move, that double team move, kind of the double made in Japan on Drilla. Drilla and Shingo, they put it on Henare. They pinned Henare clean in the middle of the ring. Henare, who now lists himself as a free agent, so it appears anyway that he might be on a per appearance basis with New Japan. Did the job in this one. Fine match, not bad, but Maloney got on the microphone afterwards and said that he has signed with New Japan and is staying. And that got a big pop out of the crowd. So we'll be seeing the War Dragons. And to me, Jeremy, this is a fairly obvious top contending team for the Knockout Brothers going forward. Knockout Brothers have other business immediately ahead. But War Dragons versus KOB, I'm totally down with seeing more.
I wonder how Henare felt to put up that he's a free agent right after he loses a match. And then the other guy on the other team gets on the microphone and says he's signed with New Japan for another year. That must have been fun.
What can you say? I mean, it just
did you think about that part of it at all?
Sure, I did. Yeah, no, I didn't think the timing was an accident at all. But again, if Drilla takes the deal and signs, we don't know what the deal is with Henare. If they offered him something and he declined it, or if they didn't offer, we don't know. We don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and suppose.
And I want to clarify, I'm laughing awkwardly, not that I actually think this is funny.
But 3 guys in this match are signed to New Japan Pro Wrestling. The one that isn't did a decisive job in the middle of the ring. Now, he is booked in the New Japan Cup. So it's not like this was a going away. He's going to be there. And Henare is still, but it's very possible that he's basically on a per night deal now.
I mean, okay, so
assuming that's real. I'm assuming that's not kayfabe. I don't know why it would be, but
I mean, he came back after felt like over a year away.
Yeah, just about. It was about a year. Yeah.
For Wrestle Kingdom, so you could argue that he got injury time tacked on from whatever contract that he had. But at the same time, he's only been wrestling for a month because he came back from Wrestle Kingdom. If they weren't going to extend the contract, this would be about the time that he did it. And the company could consider them doing right by him because he got to be on Wrestle Kingdom and then he was in all the programs, for the next show. And then that's that. And okay. I think that they should do more with Henare, but it could have been a case of they didn't know what kind of guy that they had from him. Coming back from all those injuries. He had some devastating injuries, guys. Like, it was not great. So if he goes somewhere else, okay. If they decide to invest in him more, next year, he's still only like 33. Like the guy's not that, like he started when he was 16, and he's been doing this for 16 years or something like that, but he's still way younger than he appears to be. And I think he's got legs in New Japan. I think he could probably stick around for a while. I was actually expecting United Empire to kind of have a clean sweep of their undercard matches going into the main event, but that ended up not happening. It ended up being, Unbound Company going 2-0 on the first two matches before we got to the consequential singles matches between the two factions.
And and Nick Reeves says that he was very surprised with the match, if for no other reason than Drilla's injury. Yeah, it did seem like between them softening up Shingo with the ribs and doing a kayfabe injury angle with Shingo to get him off the cards for a while, and then Drilla's thing where his arm was taped up and all that. It did seem like they were setting up something for to put a weakness.
No, Shingo's totally fine.
Oh yeah, no, it was kayfabe, but
I know
it felt like they were setting up some sort of finish with that. Like they were going to get him in the ribs and beat him, or Drilla in his arm, but they didn't. It was just a straight up win for the War Dragons, and now they're sort of on a trajectory toward the tag team titles again. Even though, as Nick says, they're all in Unbound Company, KOB, but Unbound Company to me looks like the kind of faction where
they're hanging on by a thread. A lot of these people are not going to be in it in a little while. And
we can still wrestle each other. It wouldn't stop anything there. And
in 4 months, everything will have been shaken up. I'm firm on this.
Brad just mentioned that he loves Drilla staying. He's the kind of talent that could use more time in New Japan, and Brad loves the War Dragons. I'm a big fan of Maloney. I think he and Shingo work well together, so I'm happy.
It's interesting that Rev Pro is a feeder system right now for New Japan, but they're not sending people there for excursion.
Yeah, not full time. It seems to be like WXW is the main spot for that. But remember, they worked plenty of Rev Pro shows.
Oh, totally. But I thought it was interesting.
Yeah. And Nick mentions that O'Khan has felt lost in the shuffle since the United Empire overhaul, and I feel that that will get even worse if he doesn't have a viable tag partner. He is drifting in space a bit.
He is always drifted in space, everybody. I'm sorry. Like he is in exactly the same place he's been for.
Wrong pronouns, pal. Yeah, they. Yeah, but I know what you mean. Yeah. They're in about the same spot.
I apologize.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I know. I'm struggling with that too. I'm trying.
I just didn't know.
I'm trying to get it right. Okay, so moving on from this match, though, it was decent enough action. After that, we had.
Oh, sorry.
Those are graphics. No, the never open weight 6-man tag team title match. And this was Hiroki Goto, Yoshihashi, and Oleg Boltin facing Hartley Jackson, Ryohei Oiwa, Zack Sabre Jr. This one went about 12 minutes. The last several minutes were really, really good. Once this thing drifted toward the finish, it was a good match all the way through, really. But the last few really picked up into something nice. But look at the 6 guys involved. They ended up hitting the Shoto with the splash to win. Like I mentioned, solid finish, but decisive. And afterwards, TMDK said in post-match comments that they are moving on from the trios title and focusing on doing well in the New Japan Cup. Of course, Zach is always booked strong in the Cup as far as being a tournament wrestler goes. We'll see what happens with Oiwa and Jackson, but all these guys are in it. So, but basically this was a successful defense for a strong, never open weight 6-man team. I mean, Bishamon and Bolton are a team that could very well hold these things for a long while, but a good match.
I like that promo, but I saw the brackets for the New Japan Cup, and I don't feel great for the majority of TMDK coming out of that one.
No. And Brad mentioned this match was awesome. I love these 2 trios teams. I could watch them feud all year, but I worry about what is beyond them in the division. Yeah, I mean, there could be a really good Unbound Company team that you could put together, almost any combination, and send them after that. I am also worried that House of Torture is going to go back after these guys because I just don't want it anymore. There was too much House of Torture involving these belts for way too long, so I was hoping that we could move away from that, but we have no idea what's next for them. Another challenging team has not stepped up.
Yeah, you could probably try and figure out if there's a trio that one of them gets a win over the Yoshihashi, Goto, Bolton, Oleg side of things that kind of dictates them getting a title shot out of all this, because I don't see any one of any one of these guys being the finalists in the New Japan Cup. And
Right.
I think they're all just kind of got plans later on. Unbound Company feuding with them does seem like a good direction, but I also feel like there's going to be a lot of faction upheaval by like April, May.
Could very well be. Could very well be. All right. So the next one is the global heavyweight title #1 contendership match. And this was Andrade El Idolo and Gabe Kidd. Went about 14-20. We knew that Gabe Kidd is going to be at best splitting his time. We were talking before the show that you remember how Kevin Knight was supposed to be under contract to both companies. We haven't seen him since. I feel like something like that's about to happen with Gabe, but it was pretty good. In the end, though, he was just there to put Andrade over and get him to that global title match at New Beginning USA. Andrade's move called the DM ended it. And it was another see you later promo from Gabe Kidd afterwards. A pretty emotional one and a good one, worth going back and watching. But it's clear that he's going to be away a while. He's not booked in the New Japan Cup. Gabe even mentioned Darby Allin, that he's got business that he has to take care of. But he loves New Japan and hopes to be back one day. But he did it in a much more captivating and emotional way than I just did. So if you want to check out that promo from the backstage comments, it's worth your time.
I definitely wonder if that relationship with the fans that Gabe Kidd had will ever be what it once was, because it's never been that way since. I think they care, and I think they'll be excited when he comes back, but I think there was a huge swing and a miss with Gabe Kidd in 2026 in New Japan Pro Wrestling.
What?
A massive swing and a miss.
Well, you're not wrong. The swing and a miss was written in the stars as soon as he started wrestling for AEW after doing that whole coming out with the lion mark on his trunks.
About this, we talked about the cost of splitting your time, and that's everything that we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Now the G1 this year is middle of July to middle of August, and AEW All In, which is the show that they're aiming for, is going to be August 30th. So I would freely expect both of these guys to be in the G1 and potentially face each other in the G1 at this point. It makes, they run it back, but it's going to be, like maybe they're in night one in Chicago at the G1 and they have a match together again and they run that kind of thing back and, goes in the other direction. I feel like that's something that may end up happening.
A couple of comments here. Jeremy Orr says that Okan is the new Sonata, and I actually have a different guy in mind for the new Sonata. I think there is a new Sonata, but I don't think it's Okan. But we'll get to that. He thinks it's Okan is the new Sonata, and then Brad mentions that Andrade looks revitalized, and we the fans are better for that. Nick Reeves, a little different. He said this match didn't quite click for me, which was disappointing since I liked the chemistry in their tag matches last month. And
I thought Andrade looked way better than Gabe Kidd in this match.
Yeah. But I think that's been true for a while as far as Gabe goes. I feel like I think that like maybe it's the travel back and forth or whatever, or just saving himself for AEW a little bit. But,
maybe he's just going to the senior stuff, because there was a point there where he was really hurting himself trying to like branch out with new moves. Some of those corner spots, and he was really hurting the back of his head, and that can scare guys. So, you kind of take it back to basics and do a bit more of a brawler style. And I did have to replay the finish of this match because it looked like a botch, but it wasn't.
No,
know what I mean? It was an incredibly well-timed miss kick and a spinning back, an elbow.
Yeah, there was a back elbow. Yes, and
then Andrade kind of like does that hitch and a pause, like the hell just happened, and then it clicks on him, and it was a really smart finish, and he just goes for a DM finisher and he gets the pin. I was just like, yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, no, that was fine, and it's also called The Message. That move right there, that has a couple of different names, but
the DM is also a message. Steven.
Well, you know it. So, all right. That means Andrade El Idolo will face Yota Tsuji at New Beginning USA, as we suspected. That's the fresh matchup. And all right. Well, Nick is going to head out for now. Oh, I'm sure you can catch the rest of the show later. Nick, have a good week. Glad you enjoyed it.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Joined us. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried to say that all at once. All right, the next match after this one was David Finlay versus Callum Newman. And now you thought the match with the War Dragons was decisive. Hoo boy. So this one was a good brawl at the beginning. And then Newman wrestled very well once they got in the ring. Newman was working very hard in this match. Finlay was too. But I think Newman understood that he needed to step up here. And I think he did. But he was working very, very hard. Newman ended up hitting multiple finishers, and he picked David Finlay up. And it didn't backfire on him. They didn't do the usual thing where the hubris of the heel gets in his way. He just kept picking Finlay up from hitting finishers. And then finally, the Princess Curse ended the whole thing. Very decisive 3 count. It was not as violent as the infamous dog pound cage match, but it was similar in how Ospreay laid down completely for David Finlay on the way out.
Oh, man.
Finlay returned the figurative favor to United Empire here, lays down completely for Callum Newman. Afterwards, Finlay stands up in the ring, bows, hugs Gato, walks out, touches the lion's mark, bows once again, and said, there has been no official announcement.
Dude, it's gone.
There was no ambiguity here. That was the end of David Finlay in New Japan, at least for now.
First off, this was buried in all the other news. That music for Callum Newman rules.
Oh yeah, you like the new tune? You like the new tune?
Yeah, it's this "Make Way for the Prince" kind of like rock ballad. And
well, it reminded me of "Bow Down to the King," Triple H's alternate one that the guy from Motorhead did.
A little bit, and he comes down with the sword in the scabbard. The sword doesn't come out of the scabbard, but and he's got his stomp, and he calls it Excalibur, and I'm just like, yeah, all right, this is working for me, and Brad is all in, and I think he wants this guy in the finals of the cup, and I'm not against that. But to me, like, Newman is all about getting him ready for that Ospreay match, and then from the Ospreay match, take him to the next level. Like, I think if you go the other route, I don't know yet. I think he needs time for the audience to buy into just how legitimate of a threat this guy is. And I think this was an excellent first step, but it's going to take repetition, just like it took Finlay repetition on a lot of these matches to having the same outcome and be like, okay, we really need to take this guy seriously. I think he should be a Final Four in the New Japan Cup, but I don't think he should be in the finals.
Yeah, I think he's one of my early favorites for the New Japan Cup, but we'll see how that goes. He looked very, very strong here, was booked to be very, very strong, and made a point of saying, I just did what Ospreay could not in post-match comments. And I know not everything in post-match comments means something anymore, that it's not as true as it used to be, but that one definitely had a meaning to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Pointing that out.
Finlay, completely selfless, gave Callum everything. He gave him everything in this match. Like, there was no like, okay, I'm going to take like 20% of myself. No, it was, he got beat pillar to post. And at the very end, he gave the defiant, like, middle finger to Callum Newman before Callum Newman killed him, and gave him the weakest pin of all time just to show how dominantly he had felled David Finlay. Like, you need to watch it just to see like what giving everything to another wrestler actually is. And Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio just gave Finlay his flowers in terms of like, he's one of the best technical wrestlers out there. He's not flashy, he's not special, but everything he does in the ring is just polished, and he does everything right.
Yeah, no, he's very, very good. He's very, very good. We've been praising him on this show for a long time. Brad asks, who's the leader of United Empire, Newman or Jake Lee? I think it was always Newman. I never thought Jake Lee was the leader of UE. I always thought that Newman had taken that role and ran with it rather. And Jeremy says, was this Finn's last match and nothing said about it though? As long as he was there, it didn't feel right. He said, yeah, we think that this is Finlay moving on now. Yeah, basically we don't see Finlay coming. I don't see him coming back. Do you? Not for a long time.
No, that was a goodbye.
Yeah, that was a goodbye. Yeah.
Like, he may wrestle for New Japan, but he's not coming back to Japan anytime soon.
Yeah. Okay, so after that one, that settled that business. And then we had Tanahashi. President came out and he announced that Dominion will also be on national television because the success of Wrestle Kingdom. And so he mentioned that Dominion from Osaka-jo Hall will be on national TV. He said you can come to Osaka-jo Hall, pack the building out, and still get home in time to see the show later that night. Because remember, Wrestle Kingdom was edited down into a package that aired a little bit later in the evening. So Tanahashi pimping for Dominion already, but it did a very healthy number. Wrestle Kingdom did, and it looks like TV Asahi is coming back for more. So Dominion will be on TV Asahi in June. So now they got to come up with something big for that show. We don't have to worry about them slacking off on that, do we, Jeremy? That's going to be a loaded lineup. They've got national television implications.
You main event that show with?
I don't know. We'll see as it comes up. Well, I don't think.
I'm serious. Like,
no, I am too. I don't think we're going to know until we get past Don Taku and Sakura Genesis and all that.
But who on the card is so big that they could? The TV authority like, oh man, yeah, that's going to be the main event. But you know what I mean? Like, they have to have at some point a conversation between New Japan and TV Asahi. Like, this is where we're headed, and this is the match that we're like building towards. And then TV Asahi is like, okay, we're behind it. So, what could possibly be that match?
Perhaps a new heel.
These are things that I'm just like. When I saw that was the first thing I thought of. Like, what do they have up their sleeves? The one that I thought about, and I didn't know if this was actually going to tip the needles in Japan, but I was wondering if AJ Styles and Yota Tsuji for the title is big enough at Dominion.
I just don't think. I mean, for New Japan fans, we would all be doing cartwheels, but
for TV Asahi, is that like it was TV during like 12 years ago, which was like a big time for New Japan, and like during a heyday, one of the stars of that period. So I'm trying to figure out is that enough?
No, I don't think that'll be it. I don't think that'll be the main event of Dominion.
Do you think they could get Nakamura?
I don't know. I mean, that's not up.
These are the things that I'm like thinking of, and I'm asking you.
That's not even up. That's not even up to New Japan. It doesn't seem like
I know, but like,
I mean, Turin
the landscape is pretty barren here, Steven. Like, for what they have planned for this, like, if it's Aaron Wolf and Yota Tsuji, because that seems like a very fraught with peril plan.
Yeah, I don't like
the
that
match we're about to talk about next.
Yeah, I don't like that one. But Turin mentions it here. The first person that popped into my head when I heard national TV was Hiroki Goto, just because they could really play up his story. That's a possibility. If not Goto, then, like I said, perhaps a new heel that I feel like is coming out of a certain other storyline we're going to get to in a little bit. That could be it. But I think there are chapters before we get to that. Goto is the first one that came to my mind. And then I just thought, well, if there is a hot, fresh, bad guy for Yota to vanquish, then that would be the answer.
Yeah. I'm just what that is and what all that. Because I'm sorry, Callum Newman and Yota Tsuji for a big show like that is not going to move anything at this point. That's what I'm saying. No. You need to build this guy for that moment, and we're not at that moment.
Well, I got 4 months. That's a long time.
I don't think 4 months is enough.
Well, tough nuggets. That's what you got. How much talent leaving at the same time is actually a good thing. This is from Plethora 1C. It says, I know it gives new talent a chance, but when a large number of talent left WWE in 1992, no one's saying it was a good thing for Crush. No, it wasn't. But it was a good thing for Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, which worked out all right. Yeah, like you said, it's a time for the other guys to step up, but they have to be booked correctly. And we're about to go through a couple of examples where we can't really have confidence that New Japan knows how to do this anymore.
So it's all about the talent that you have and how you use them in order to like roll over the interest from the fans, because the fans want to be engaged and hooked on the wrestlers and the stories, right? They want the whole formula, the wrestling, the wrestlers, and the story that engages them in a way where they want to keep coming back. If you're missing the wrestlers, but you have the story and the engagement, you're not a wrestling company, like you're a soap opera. So you need the talent, and I think they have the talent, but now it's up to everyone to put that talent and use them to the best of their ability.
Yeah. And Brad's asking, are we about to get a classic Steven rant about a House of Torture?
Yes, we are.
Well, let's stretch and get into this here.
Yeah,
So the next match,
right.
my discussion of it is going to be a lot longer than the match itself. Ren Narita and Aaron Wolf for the never open weight title. So Wolf comes out. House of Torture jumps him. Same thing we've seen 100 times. The heels jump him. They throw him in the ring. Narita starts beating him down. He makes a comeback. He starts doing the judo throws. He tries the angle slam, but Narita kicks Marty Asami as he's going up for the angle slam. Marty's down. He doesn't see the rest of House of Torture jump into the ring. This is stuff we have seen dozens of times. The exact act we have seen dozens of times. Only there was a difference, Jeremy. The biggest name the company has on a mainstream basis is Aaron Wolf. Far more people in Japan on a mainstream basis know who Aaron Wolf is than who Yota Tsuji is, or even probably who Hiroshi Tanahashi is, maybe. Okay? This guy is a huge star. They beat him down with more guys from House of Torture, but not so much. Then he hits Hell's Guillotine and pins Aaron Wolf for the never open weight title. Jeremy, what did I text you when I watched this? With no context, by the way. I just sent Jeremy a text after I watched this. What was that text?
I believe that text said, New Japan is run by a bunch of morons.
Yes. And the thing is with this, every babyface in this entire company has had a House of Torture match like this. All right? Where they get jumped before the match. Then they get attacked during the match. And the match goes on, and sometimes they overcome it, and sometimes they fall short. But every babyface in the company has had a match like this. The difference here is that Aaron Wolf lost it in 2 minutes and 8 seconds. The one was shorter than most. Narita crushed him except for a few moves. They have this guy who is a mainstream star that the fans were into. Do you remember the roar in the building in which you sat, Jeremy Finestone, when he came out and took his gi off and he was wearing black tights and he had the hair cut off and he realized he's a New Japan. Do you remember the roar in the crowd?
I remember.
The dumbest thing you can do with this guy is make him look like an ordinary wrestler. And they did it. Stupid. As a matter of fact, they made him look worse than most because at least most of the half-assed baby faces in this company go longer than 2 minutes and 8 seconds with a guy from House of Torture. And an utter mediocrity like Ren Narita has been since he came back from Excursion and turned into House of Torture. An utter mediocrity of a heel. Comes in and devastates him, plows right through him. Yes, he had help. But for God's sakes, they beat down some of the schmuckiest schmucks on the babyface side who last longer than 2 minutes. Here's my question. What the hell could possibly have been the point of doing this? To make Aaron Wolf pay dues? Why? What? So he can go away and train for a while so that he can have good matches? Why? Here's a little hint to New Japan. It's not the wrestler's job to have good matches. Their job is to sell tickets. He's a star. That job is done. The only thing that New Japan could do to hurt Aaron Wolf is to make him look ordinary. And that is what they did right here. Think about this, Jeremy. Aaron Wolf's first singles loss can only happen one time. It should be a huge deal for him to have his first singles loss. When did they do it? In 2 minutes to a half-assed, lazy heel and to give away a belt that he just won. You cannot make a babyface look like a bigger putz than this. It's the dumbest thing they could do. They made him look ordinary. I don't care what the plan is. If they're gonna have him win it back on national television. Guess what? He already chased and won back won the never open weight title on national television. He already did it. So there isn't a reason to do that. You could just build up a heel to challenge him for it if you wanted to put him on national TV at the Dominion thing. Instead, you made him look like every other not over babyface and your entire not over slumping company. This was a moronic decision. There is no justifying this. There's no reason to do it. Him going back and getting revenge on Ren Narita, everybody beats Ren Narita. It won't mean anything. The only thing you have done is give away the key moment of his first singles loss in a match that doesn't end up helping anybody. Certainly not him. Certainly not even Narita. This was stupid. It's bad booking, and it is a huge symptom of why this company can't get moving. They simply will not get behind anyone and friggin' push them. It's stupid. I keep saying stupid over and over again. It takes a lack of intelligence to decide to do this in this moment. And I don't care what the next step is for Aaron Wolf or what they're going to do with him next. This was bad. It was a bad match. It was a bad move. It's bad booking, and it's bad practice going forward. Whew, I need a shot.
Shot for the working man.
What the hell? The only thing you have to do is not make him look ordinary. His job isn't to have great matches. It's to sell tickets. Pay his dues? Who gives a shit?
I don't think.
Who cares if he pays his dues? What does that mean? That's an old wrestler saying. If you've got an old broken down wrestler in charge of the thing saying he needs to pay his dues, no, you need to sell the tickets. Dumbasses.
Is it okay right now if I tell you that I was fine with it?
Go ahead. Try to justify this.
I'm not justifying it. I'm telling you I was fine with it.
Tell us why damaging
the only person that made Aaron Wolf look ordinary is Aaron Wolf.
I'm not saying that he was a great wrestler, but he was already a star. Don't take him down from being a star. He can learn to wrestle later.
How many people watch his show?
Well, how do you want me to answer that?
That's what I'm saying. Like, how many people watch his show compared to Wrestle Kingdom, where he had that big match and he won the title and everyone cheered?
This is a major plot point they just gave away. His first loss, you can build him up the undefeated. What is hotter in wrestling than an undefeated star? I mean, look at Goldberg, for God's sakes. Goldberg was less talented than Wolf seems to be so far. Believe me, he hurts fewer people, and Wolf can already do more moves than Goldberg ever could. Goldberg drew $1 zillion in the United States because they didn't make him look ordinary, and look what happened the second they did. As soon as they beat Goldberg, cooled off faster than anything you have ever seen in wrestling.
I don't disagree. The only thing that I'm saying here is that, like, Aaron Wolf has not been what he has delivered on, and if he's not had that much momentum and potential out the gate that they wanted him to, and they still have a heel faction that they need to keep viable, yeah, I'm sorry that Ren Narita is the only fucking option left in the plate, but you got to do it. You got to make him.
You don't have to do it at his expense.
Back on the guy. So,
not at the expense of the only guy in the company that actually has some momentum.
Yeah, you do. Because at some point, Aaron Wolf will get the title back and he'll get the comeuppance and he'll get better. But he is in a better position to chase than to defend because he's not that good and he still needs time. And the company booked themselves into a corner, and you can be mad till you turn blue. But this has all been in the making for months. Like,
no, it has. That's garbage. No, it
like the smoke and mirror from Wrestle Kingdom, like Evil deserves all the credit in the world because he made Aaron Wolf look better than he was. And now we've seen all these matches, and it's going to take time. You and I both talked about the fact that he's going to have these matches where he's going to string together moves. And then the next match, he's going to string together a little bit more. And then after that, he's going to string together a little bit more. Honestly, how long is he going to be able to be a never open weight champion with that level of progression?
Defending the title once a month, plenty of times. Here's what
I don't know.
You could have had Yo and Wato come out. Wato is going to challenge Doki for the title, right? There are natural enemies for House of Torture that could have come out here and helped, and have come out and helped him in the past. Remember, they have run in on him. That's how we got to this whole thing anyway. Wato is somebody you're even building up for a title shot. He and Yo could have come in here and countered that. He gets the win over Narita and escapes. They do that all the time with House of Torture. That's just it. This isn't even anything we haven't seen before, except he looked worse than the guys that are in the mid-card taking it. His first loss should have been a very big deal. There are all kinds of ways for him to learn on the job as the never open weight champion. Far worse wrestlers than Aaron Wolf have held titles in this
pressure now that he doesn't have a title on his shoulder.
No, there isn't. The pressure, he's supposed to draw the money. He's supposed to be drawing money.
And
he's not supposed to be in the mid-card except on the road 2 shows. The smoke and mirror stuff is fine. He can do that. And then he has all of Fantasticamania. He doesn't even have to defend that title again, really, until what? Sakura Genesis? So, I mean, get him past Ren Narita. Don't make him lose. You still have his first loss in your pocket. You can get all the way until almost April before he has to put that title on the line against anybody again and have a singles match.
Man,
all kinds of ways you could have done this smarter.
I don't know how you're going to react when he loses to Bad Luck Fale in the first round of the New Japan Cup.
I don't know, but it'll probably be a lot like the half full crowd will.
Yeah,
it'll be a lot like the half full crowd they'll have because a lot of people will come to that show dressed up as empty seats. So Brad mentions it feels like 2 different companies. The stuff outside House of Torture has been good in 2026. The stuff within it is just not good and brings the mood and the feelings down.
They have voids to fill, and they have to elevate Ren immediately into the position that Evil was in.
No, they don't. And they don't have to do it at his expense. They don't have to do it at his expense.
I'm sorry. Callum Newman and Ren Narita are your top heels in 2026 in New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's going to take a lot of work to get those guys up to that position if there's nobody else in that thing. And Aaron Wolf was sacrificed for that. I get it. It's not an easy decision to make, but he had to eat the bag of shit in order for Ren Narita to get put in a position where the company actually has a top heel, because they don't have any top heels right now.
It's more important to have a babyface who draws. It's more important to have a person that draws.
That's what Yota Tsuji is supposed to be right now. He's supposed to be your top IWGP champion. Aaron Wolf was a never champion. If they wanted him to be the top guy in the promotion, he would have won the title. He would have won the IWGP. This is the thing
he can do while he's learning. You don't have to do it at his expense, and make the one guy who's actually got some momentum. 2 guys. All right. He and Tsuji have some momentum, but for God's sakes, those are the guys you just featured him on national television. And then you make him look like an idiot. It's not okay. And the next time next time he comes up on national TV, if he's challenging for the title, isn't anybody who skipped everything else, all the people that aren't watching these shows, going to sit there and go, what, he already lost the thing already? What, it's stupid. It didn't have to happen. You do not have to cut off the momentum of one of the only guys who actually has a bit of a following with New Japan in order to get a half-ass guy like Red Narita over. This is just a bad decision. Bad move. All right.
Okay.
Let's move on to the next one. This is just... Ugh. So then we have the Knockout Brothers and Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura. They followed up that atrocity with the best match on the show and a fantastic tag team title match. This match was truly outstanding, by the way. If you have not seen this one, go back and watch it. It's 19 minutes and 37 seconds, and it is fast-paced at a crisp run. These guys had all kinds of energy. All 4 of them worked very, very well. And it was the best match of the night by a good long shot here. And the fans were into it right away. They booed Umino, which was not a surprise. A lot of KOB chants, not a surprise. Those guys are over right now. They feel like the crowd is with them. Uemura and Ice were terrific together. And one thing I noticed, Jeremy, is it seems like every time Yuto Ice is in a big match, I end up saying that, oh, he has really good chemistry with X. And it's like whoever they put Yuto Ice in there with, he gets something interesting out of. And I remember saying it with Oiwa, I thought, oh, I'd like to see this more because Ice and Oiwa have good chemistry. And then I said it again about Ishii, where I just said, oh, yeah, Ice and Ishii, this is really good. Now it's with Uemura. There's starting to be a trend here that Yuto Ice is pretty good with just about everybody. Excellent match. Both Umino and Uemura ended up taking the knockout bomb there. Uemura was the legal man at the time. The one on Umino was more to neutralize him as it came down to it, but they were trying to hit their big moves on each other. Uemura actually hit the deadbolt on Ice, but Oscar managed to break it up. That KOB on Uemura was the finisher. It ended the whole thing, and it was the victory. Now, to clarify, I said that there were only 2 viable, passable, acceptable finishes for this, which is either Uemura and Umino succeed and win the titles, or there is a turn. I want to clarify because I didn't say it, but the turn doesn't have to come immediately after the match. Okay, that's not what I tried to say. So I'm not pissed. the seeds have been planted a little bit. And here's what I mean. They got to follow through on it. And I know that they half-ass this stuff a lot, but I just said what they can't do is just go back to saying, I'm going to pull myself up from the bootstraps and learn from this loss. Because we've heard it too much over the past 4 years with both these guys. That's what Uemura did. He did an absolute cut and paste promo. We've heard it from Shota, Oiwa, Uemura. It's the same minute and a half, means absolutely nothing. I'll learn from this. I'll move forward. I'm going to carry New Japan. Shut up. No, you're not. This is the guy, Jeremy Orr, that I think is the next Sonata. It's Yuya Uemura in that healthy Sonata and the guy that has good matches, but is not the guy. And I think that's more and more Uemura because just the lack of creativity in his promos. I mean, he only has 2 promos, the one where he wins, the one where he loses, and neither one is particularly captivating. He goes in there and he wrestles well, but he's not the guy. So I think this is actually the next Sonata, upper mid-card guy. Umino in his did acknowledge that I'm full of crap. I keep saying the same things over and over again, and I keep losing. I say I'm going to get better, and I don't. I say that next time I'm going to succeed, and I fail. I'm full of it, and I can't just sit here and say it anymore. Something's got to change. And he was laying on his back on the concrete floor, and he rolls off. Then immediately, Uemura gets down there and babbles the same crap that Umino was just saying that he wasn't going to do anymore. So I thought that was an interesting little thing there. Seeds have been planted. I don't know which one might turn heel. Maybe it'll light a fire under Uemura if it's him. It feels like it ought to be Umino. But either way, the Knockout Brothers are moving on. Their next match is against Gates of Agony, Jeremy. We had the lights going out after the match, and Ricochet came on. Ricochet challenging Taiji Ishimori to a match, and then
Random.
the Knockout Brothers and Gates of Agony. Random,
I wouldn't have thought it random, but the first one was random.
Very random, but I'm not complaining about getting Ishimori and Ricochet in a match.
No.
And then Gates of Agony and KOB ought to be pretty darn good. Perhaps some seeds planted for Umino and Uemura, but those are my thoughts coming out of this one, is that maybe Uemura is an excellent wrestler. This is a great match, but he's just not the guy. Whereas Umino might be getting ready to actually make the change that could help him.
See, I think Uemura is the guy.
He's not. He's clearly not. He just doesn't have the promo. That's just, he doesn't have the charisma. Like his promos are exactly the same one night to the next. Exactly the same. There's no creativity.
Okay.
But
so that's how I feel about Yuya. I think Shota's turning. I think it would be best for him to turn. I mentioned earlier with Newman and Red Narita, it's like they don't have a top heel. They don't have a compelling top guy.
Yeah.
That like just you're mad that he's a bad guy and you're mad at the things that he does now that he's gone bad. Yes. And he's that guy, and I'm pretty convinced of that. And I think we'll get to the New Japan Cup preview, but we're the bracket breakdown. We're doing the preview in a couple weeks. But if you look at that, there's a matchup in the finals that's just staring right at me.
Can you imagine too? Umino as a heel has a lot of interesting things about. They already want to boo him anyway, right? Mm-hmm. He has a bit of a punchable face to him, and I was thinking about one other thing, like a heel Umino in a main event, doing something behind his father's back to win a match. And it's one of those moments where the referee kind of knows, but he didn't see it and he can't call it. And just look his father in the eye as his father reluctantly counts a 3, knowing that something happened behind his back that he didn't see. That could really work.
You had a number of ambiguous situations in the New Japan Cup that Shota, kind of takes advantage of. And he ends up winning the match. And by the last match, there's something that he's like, no, I'm manipulating the situation and I'm winning this to win the cup. I am leaning more and more and more towards that direction.
Yeah. And don't forget the cup. I believe it was the cup last year, wasn't it? Where David Finlay said, you want to do this, you got to be more like me. And Umino kind of nodded at him a little bit. I don't have that verbatim, but that was the message.
Shota was in the final last year.
There you go. And Jeremy said, why nothing happened with Yuya and Shota after? Doesn't make any sense. I think it might be coming. They might do it in the cup. But yeah, Fernando Zaya says he agrees and that it has a lot of potential. And Brad, just give KOB the Tag Team of the Year award now. These dudes are it. And Rough Storm have been a really good team. Rough Storm being Uemura and Umino. Yeah.
I really like this match.
Yes.
This was the match that I was circling and looking forward to when the show was announced, when the matches were announced, the day before the show and the day of the show. This was the one I have really loved. We don't talk about it enough, but Yuya and Shota have been in some of the best tag team matches of the year so far. Like this isn't an aberration. Like they have worked exceptionally well in some top matches since the start of the year, and they deserve all the credit.
Yeah, and I've been saying for a long time that they should be feuding because I do think they have good chemistry against each other too. But you're right, as a tag team, they've been excellent. And Brad mentions this. All right, this is cheeky. He says Shota is rewarded with this great run by getting Chase Owens in the first round, followed by Yujiro in the second round. Well, we're going to talk about that bracket. It does set up well for Shota.
I'm not touching that one.
And there's a couple of subtext to that because he ends with whose girlfriend did Shota sleep with to get that draw. Moving on to the next thing. If you know, you know. All right.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, we do. Next match is going to be for the World Heavyweight title. And this is the one, Jeremy, that is divisive. And I get why. All right. So Jake Lee challenging Yota Tsuji. I understand. So this one went 23 minutes and 40 seconds. Little much. And like I mentioned,
how much in-ring action was actually in that match, Steven?
And not a whole lot. Lee
thank you for indulging me.
Lee is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Tsuji went after his knee, and Lee sold that, I thought, pretty effectively. There's a lot of mind games in this match, and that's what you're going to get from Jake Lee. He isn't a move machine like Konosuke Takeshita, certainly. It's a psychology game from him, not an athletic one. Choke slam after Tsuji kicked out. Excuse me. He hit a choke slam. That woke the crowd up a little bit, got him into it. He got Tsuji to charge like Tsuji and Takeshita did at Wrestle Kingdom, but he hit a knee coming off of it. So the whole match was about how he was messing with Tsuji's head and getting him to make mistakes with his psychology. In the end, though, he succumbed to a Gene Blast. I'm losing my voice here a little bit, but he hit the full Gene Blast to get the pinfall. Yeah, I do understand. Jake Lee isn't going to give you the classic strong style New Japan main event. And that's why I was saying that Tsuji was going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting in this one.
Sure.
Your mileage may vary as to whether or not he was able to lift it or if this thing just got weighed down. I find Lee captivating. And I think he's interesting. I think his promos are fun. I think the way he came back, this was the correct move because this is exactly what it should have been, which is a title defense that Tsuji can win. And Lee is not going to be in the world title picture all the time going forward. I think Newman is the main event guy going forward for United Empire, but this is a guy they could bring back. It's a return. It's a big name. Tsuji can beat him. And I think Lee is mostly that upper mid card guy, not a world title guy. And I think this match demonstrated why. I find him interesting, but as the main event of a major show like this, it's probably not the correct formula for New Japan. What are your thoughts?
I mean, they brought him in 2 years ago. You know, he was there for 4 months, did some G1s, then did, a multi-man tour of ACL, disappears for 14 months and comes back. There was really no opportunity other than now for them to just be like, okay, we got to put you in a world title match. You do it down the line, he maybe loses that impact. You do it now, and you get it out of the way. And here's the thing. There's a little bit of meta to Jake Lee threatening in the main event from here on out. We saw the match. It was not well received. The chances of them doing the match again are pretty low. But the chances of them threatening to do the match in various brackets, blocks, eliminations, all of these things now exist in perpetuity. He's enough of a player where you can look at him and argue, oh, he might fit in right here as someone who could threaten in the G1 or this or that. There's just his viability is now increased because of the opportunity and the fact that he was in the IWGP title picture conversation. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't have to ever win it, but it's almost like the way that they had Evil win the title from Naito, which I wanted to bring up because Evil winning the title from Naito was a 2 3/4 star match from Dave. And he called this match the worst IWGP title match in 10 years. And I don't know if this was worse than 2 3/4.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's a different style, and I think you hit the nail on the head. This was the time to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do it again,
right?
And Tsuji needed to win.
He needed to kick the dude's ass, and at the end of the match, he beat that dude black and blue.
Yeah, and he can be on to the next challenge. He's almost certainly going to beat Andrade, and then he moves on. He should have some opponents he can beat to establish it. And this is a good way to do it. Yeah,
the fact that he's going through Jake Lee and the fact that he's going through Andrade next does give a lot to the idea that he would go through Callum after that. But I really want them to keep Callum away until, like, he's never won a title. And now we're talking about IWGP World title. Like, it's really fast. It is really fast. And the end game right now for Callum Newman is Will Ospreay. It's not the world title. And Will Ospreay is not going to be in the IWGP world title picture. He's in the conversation to get back with Callum Newman and reunite with them and get United Empire and support him. So
when might that happen, though? When is Will going to be?
But that's what it's got to be at least, October, November, December.
Yeah, so Newman needs to be doing other things in the meantime.
Newman does need to be doing other things. But if you try and get him to fly too close to the sun and then he fails, you lose the teeth that he has getting him ready for that Will Ospreay match. Like, you need to be having him slowly but surely chipping away at guys that in some way or shape or form remind you of Will Ospreay. Just a guy here, a guy there that he's just kind of knocking off the perch, like he'll take out El Phantasmo in a match, like down the line, like something like that, where it's just like slowly but surely you're like, okay, I need to take this guy a little more seriously. Okay, I need to take this guy a little more seriously. But he's not, and I gotta stress this, he is not in a position to like shoot him to the moon because you have so much time with him. And you don't there are other people that you need to focus on first. And he is a B plot when you have A plots going on right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think they might have him full faster track than you have him. Anyway, I think that might be.
I think he's going to be a player, but I don't think he's going to be. He'll be a player the way that Finlay was a player. Finlay never won the title, but he was always just kind of in the conversation. And it took him a while to even get to an IWGP title match.
Yeah. I think Finlay, the timing didn't work out, and that just as they were thinking hard about really propelling him to the top, that's when the ambiguity came about whether he was staying. And they just had to take the foot. They just had to protect themselves and take the foot off the gas.
I think they knew last year he was going. And
I think so too.
I think that's why he got the cup win, and then he was just kind of de-escalated after that.
Yeah, I think they had big plans for him when they had him kill off Ospreay, and then after a while, by the time they got to the point where they were about to push him back up on the mountain, they got word that he might not be staying, and then they just couldn't quite put all those eggs in the basket. Brad mentions that Lee has been great during this build, but boy, and I thought so too. I enjoyed some of the stuff that they were doing. He said, but boy, this was a match that was on the card. And that's about it. I'm fine with it happening as a V1. Yeah, but I'm ready to move on to the next opponent. I think they are too. There was
perfect
nothing
summary. No notes. There you go.
Yeah, there was nothing about Lee coming back at him. I think that we are indeed on to new things. Certainly Tsuji is on to Andrade, because Andrade is the one that came up to him post-match in the locker room, or not in the locker room, but in the post-match comments area, and mentioned that he was going to take him down when they got to New Beginning USA. All right. So
you want to ask about the cup for a minute?
No, very quickly, but
Hiromu.
Yeah, Hiromu was brought back out. Afterwards, Tsuji said brought the rest of Unbound Company out. Had Hiromu at Japanese commentary, brought him back up, and there was more goodbyes for Hiromu. Hiromu made a speech. Again, just in case you didn't get the message the first 6 times, it's goodbye for now, not goodbye forever. It's not sayonara, it's matane. And then
if it could have been the Looney Tunes red circle with Hiromu in the middle, and then said that's all, folks, and then he'll be back for another episode later on. That's basically what it was.
And in the most affecting part of the night, Yuto Ice, absolutely a sobbing mess, crying because Hiromu was leaving. And again, I didn't realize that much of a connection. Maybe Yuto is just a really emotional guy. It was very sweet. He was pulling his hood down over his head to hide his eyes. Hiromu was
he was turned away on the ropes during most of the speech, and then they had to take the group photo at the very end. And the minute that he was like turning around the photo, the dude was ugly crying. Yeah. You know, it wasn't just like a cry. It was like the lip was quivering, the tears were flowing, and he just had to pull the hoodie down. And
Hiromu was comforting him.
Yeah,
Hiromu was comforting him afterwards right there. It was very sweet. It was just very sweet. And like we mentioned here before, Nick mentioned it, that it does seem like he had more of an effect on guys than it had been let on. But a lot of that's because the character of Hiromu was so irreverent that you wouldn't have a lot of sentimental moments. But here was a chance for the guys to really show how they felt about it.
I say it a lot, man. Take the time to appreciate the people who had an effect on your life while they're around.
Mm-hmm. All right, so that's that, and we will get to the schedule coming up. But I would say, Jeremy, the Fantasticamania is kind of a side quest in New Japan. Really, the next big
action
step, the next step for the main story arc comes at the New Japan Cup. So let's bring up that bracket and let's see what they gave us here
for the New Japan Cup.
Yeah, let's do that.
Got it.
So the Cup. Now, now we're not going to read all these things. So that doesn't make for much of a very good podcast, but already been brought up that Shota Umino has a pretty easy draw until he gets closer to, and here it is at the bottom, Yuto Ice and Ryohei Oiwa in the first round, with the tease of Oiwa versus Zack in the second round. Remember, they love to tease matches like that and not give them to us. Yoshihashi could also face Hiroki Goto in the second round, but he has Jake Lee first. What other matchups jumped out at you here? Again, Ren Narita is set up, I think, for a pretty good run. And Aaron Wolf has Don Fale in the first round, and then Shingo Takagi in the second. And Yuya Uemura
Aaron
up
Wolf
there.
Is doomed.
Yuya Uemura up there in the corner. He has Okan in the first round, and also on his end of the bracket, Drilla Maloney and Shingo Takagi in the Uemura bracket. So potential for some excellent singles matches. But you can see how they've teased the ideas of the War Dragons wrestling each other in this tournament, Bishamon wrestling each other, Ryohei and Zack wrestling each other, and even Taichi and Ishii. It seems like almost every bracket has a tag team that might end up going one-on-one. We'll see how many of those we get.
I don't think we're going to get much of those at all, really. So I look at the Elite Eight, okay? So, the dates on the matchups to get you to the 20th, on the 17th and the 15th. And if you do it right, you have a young guy facing off against a former IWGP champion in 3 of the 4 blocks. You could have Yuya Uemura versus Shingo Takagi. You could have Hiroki Goto versus Callum Newman. You could have Shota Umino versus Zack Sabre Jr. And then you got Red over in the other corner, just loving life.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
And then you could get to the final 4 from there would be like a heel and a face being Yuya and Ren on one side, and then a heel and a face being Callum and Shota on the other side. But I think if you got to the final and Shota has been slowly turning heel, and you have kind of a heel Shota versus a face Yuya for the chance to face Yoda at Sakura Genesis, I think that's the makings of a pretty good New Japan Cup.
I think it's fascinating here, Jeremy. I'd love to hear. It has to be just simply random draw for Yujiro Takahashi and Hartley Jackson to get a first round bye.
I mean, sometimes the math just works out, Steven.
I don't know how that goes. Well, we're obviously
all right. Also get to buy, and then he's got like I think we're getting Bolton Oleg versus Henare, and then Bolton Oleg versus Ren Narita. That kind of feels like where we're going on that one, because Bolton Oleg was a former never openweight champion, so it's not really that big of a deal if he beats. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like the whole deal. But yeah, I'm just heel face. I was going back and forth that sometimes they might do like face, and heel, but they really don't. It's usually like pretty chalk on the heel faces and all the matchups. So There's a couple of them that I just look right past. I think Great Khan ain't going anywhere in this tournament. I think Taichi and Ishii are going to have fun matches, like are just going to be served at the altar of Ren Narita, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But that other side of the bracket, the Oscar and Callum Newman match, is a very weird match that I'm kind of here for. A couple of others, like Jake Lee and Yoshihashi, and then Jake Lee probably and Hiroki Goto are both going to be matches that happen. So but yeah, I think my final four are going to be Yuya, Ren, Shota, and Callum Newman.
Yeah, I think that's pretty solid, and we'll be taking a look at this a lot more as it approaches. Again, it doesn't really begin until the 4th of March. It doesn't begin until the 4th of March.
And you actually won't be here for the show of the first New Japan Cup, and I'm going to have a special guest host, and I'll reveal that spicy information in future days.
All right. So before all that, we have one show before we come back here next Thursday. One show. And it's Fantasticamania, the very first Fantasticamania event. Wednesday the 18th. It's in Yoyogi.
That sounds fantastic to me, man.
And that'll be the...
I do that every year. Nobody calls me out on it.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I just call it sounds fantastic to me every time Fantasticamania pops up.
Sorry, I missed that.
Fantastica to me, Steven.
Okay, I'm glad. So we have a pretty good lineup, by the way, for that show in Yoyogi, which is a part of Metro Tokyo there. There's a Black Cat Memorial match. Of course, that's for the wrestler who spent a lot of time in both New Japan and CMLL or EMLL, I believe it was called then. Yeah, EMLL would have been. Black Cat Memorial match, Tiger Mask and Stigma versus Averno and Magnus. So that'll be the final Black Cat Memorial match for Tiger Mask. Of course, he was retiring this summer. I think he narrowed it down to July, he said. And then a tag team tournament will be going on throughout Fantasticamania Tour. Valiente and Futuro will face Shomakato and Iho de Stuka Jr. And then we also have Atlantis and
Stuka Jr. You said Stuka, right?
Iho de Stuka.
I thought you said Stupid Jr. first, and I was like, wait a minute. He didn't.
I did not. I did not. Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. against Okamura and Kojima. And of course, Okamura and Kojima used to be the MLW tag team champions. And then, of course, the Atlantis and Atlantis Jr., the two-generation team there. Mascara Dorada and Mystico. Whew. That is... those are two of the best wrestlers in the world right now. And they will be facing Sho and Ultimo Guerrero. Interesting team there. Plus, a Relampago match is a 10-minute time limit match. So a sprint match. Templario versus Soberano Jr. And that would be a huge match in Arena Mexico. So we're getting it right here in Yoyogi right there. Templario, Soberano Jr. So it's a nice lineup in Yoyogi.
I pretty much just treat Fantasticamania as I'm going to sit down and I'm going to watch a match, and I'm going to watch some Lucha Libre, and I'm going to enjoy myself.
So one thing here, too, Jeremy, before we go, we want to mention that Yota Tsuji made some comments also in this post-match comments. Jeremy Orr is bringing it up here again. I do want to talk about it before we go. It's going to be the last thing this week. Made some comments about people who play card games. Now, he really didn't. He really didn't. But Kadani, the guy from the one of the big wigs, the Muckety Mucks at Bushi Road, had to go on social media and apologize for something Yota Tsuji said. Jeremy, take us through this controversy, please.
Yota Tsuji made a comment somehow, somewhere, that he and the other New Japan wrestlers are more than just a card game, that they are human beings, which factually correct statement. Yes, I believe that he was making this in part to wage and fair treatment issues with their employment, which I'm always a big fan of, labor on the side of workers. I'm just gonna, advocate for that one here. So I totally get that. However, larger than the pro wrestling fan base in Japan is the card game playing fan base in Japan, and it is the priority of one Bushi Road. So when Yota Tsuji said something to bite the hand that feeds Bushi Road felt nothing more than to Streisand affect the entire thing by apologizing for Yota Tsuji's comments, highlighting what he said and saying that we are very, very sorry.
And he didn't say anything bad about the card games. He just said that we're
human beings.
We're more than characters in a card game. He did not insult the people that play card games at all. So it's a very strange reaction from Kadani, but this company does strange things.
I think the implication to the company was that somehow like playing cards are more important than human beings, and they didn't want. I actually think that there were card game players that were upset. Like they got feedback from people that were upset about this in Japan, and they had to respond to that.
That's not what he said, though.
I
know you know that, but yeah.
I mean, we are living in a world of pro wrestling where one thing can snowball into something else very, very easily, including, wrestlers, political beliefs, making its way into a television show. These things are happening, and it's just everything is bleeding over.
All right. Well, with that in mind, we will be giving any updates on that if they come in. Right. Hopefully not.
I think we'll be moving on to something more Fantastica next week.
Yeah, next week we'll be talking about the Fantasticamania tour. It will have gotten underway by the time we come back next Thursday. Don't forget about Power Bombshells on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern U.S. time, plus the Dynamite show, the Wrap, and all the great shows on the Fight Game Media Network.
We're not getting the Kamitachi theme this year.
I know it. Yeah, Kamitachi's not going to be there. We'll have to see if we get Namahage. Maybe Namahage will make an appearance. So
the Hiromu beatboxing audio track is one of the best things about Fantasticamania.
All right. Well, we will be back next week to talk about the action for Fantasticamania and preview what's coming up and any other news that comes in. Seems like it's coming through fast and furious there. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. I want to thank everybody who joined us live, everybody who's listening to this later, either on YouTube or as a podcast. We're grateful for your time, and we will talk to you again real soon.
Bye.